Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to be talking about variables and data types in Java. So we have a class called variables demo, and of course the public static void main method. And to get started, let's start with a simple definition of what a variable is. A variable is a reusable container for a value, and a variable also behaves as if it was the value assigned to it. So basically, let's say I want to use the number 10 and I want to assign it to a. So it's kind of like math when you have algebra where a equals 10 or 10 equals a, whatever. It's the same thing in programming or in Java. So there are two types of data types. There's primitive and there's reference data types. So primitive data type, it's a simple value stored directly in the memory, or also known as in the stack, whereas reference data types are memory addresses that point to the heap. Okay, this will make more sense if you are more of like a computer, if you're like more like advanced in computer engineering or computer science. But for now you don't really need to understand it fully. Just know that reference basically refers to the heap, it points to the heap, and primitive, it's basically just directly stored in the memory. So there are a couple primitive data types. There's integer or int, there's double, there's char, and there's boolean. And reference, there's string, array, and object. We won't be discussing array and object today because they're a bit more advanced, but we will in the future. As for right now, int stands for integer, so basically just any integer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Double is basically just integer but with decimal points, and it can also be negative because integers cannot be negative. And then you have, or actually integers can be negative, I'm sorry, but they cannot hold floating point values, so no decimals. And then you have char or char, which stands for character, and this stores a single character. You have boolean, which is either true or false. It can only store either true or false. And then string basically stores a string, just like just some kind of text. And then you have array, which is just an array, like kind of like a list. And then object is an object, which again we will get into that in the future, but for now you just need to know that it's a simple object that can be literally anything, like for example an animal. But yeah, even though that's not really an object, but you get the point. So there are two steps to creating a variable. The first step is declaration, and the second step is assignment. So to get started, let's declare a variable. So int a semicolon. This is us declaring it because we have declared it into the program, but we have not given it a value, which is the assignment part of it. So it's an int a. This is the name of the variable a, but there is no value assigned to it. To assign a value, you say int a equals 10. And then you can do this for as much as you want. Just make sure that they are different names. So int b equals 20 semicolon, and you get it. Moving on, you can also say int c and just declare it, and then later you can assign it. C equals to 30. It goes both ways. You can either declare and assign it, which is called initializing it as also, or you can declare it and then assign it. It's up to you. It depends on what you're doing and what your program is going to be used for. And then it's the same exact thing for the double. So double, say weight, and you can store 88.8, let's say 88.8 kilos. That's approximately how much I weigh. And then for the integer, let's also say int age equals to 22. That's how old I am. And let's get a few more. Let's say what else we got? We got car and or char and boolean. So let's say char, and let's just say I don't know, just call it whatever, symbol equals to, and then you need to store this within single quotes, and let's just store $. Let's call this currency. Let's say this is the currency that I'm using right now. And then boolean, And for boolean, let's say is alive, and let's set that equal to false because I feel dead inside. And of course, we need a semicolon. And then, last but definitely not least, that we will be using today is the string variable, or data type, I should say. So string, this needs to be capital. String, let's call it name, equals to, this needs to be within double quotes. My name is Yusuf, and then semicolon. Now, this is great and all, but if you run the code or the program, nothing really happens. Now, how do we put this into good use? So, one shortcut you should probably get familiar with is sout. If you type that, it will, and then press enter, it will type out system.out.println for you, so to make things easier on you. So let's just say hello, and then you can add a plus and say name, and then plus again, and then you can say period, and then you are plus age plus space years old, and then you can say you are kg, and so on and so forth, and you can just basically run it, and let's hope we didn't make any mistakes. Hello Yusuf, you are 22 years old, you are 88.8 kg, and so on and so forth. And you can print, for example, let me just sout is alive, and if you run that, it should give me true or false. False, because I am not alive. And if I change this to true, it should give me true, and you get the point. And then you can also use this for if-else statements. We will get more into that later, but you can say if is alive, then we want to print something like yay, for example. Okay, and then you can say else sout rip, and let's run it and see if it works or not. So since it's true, we're gonna say yay, but if we change this to false, then the else part of this if else statement will run, and it will say RIP, as you can see right here. So this is a basic introduction to if else statements. If else statements are basically like, if you say if, and then there's the condition. If the condition is true, this part of the code will run. If it's false, then whatever comes next will run, which is the else statement, which is this. But that's basically a small introduction to if-else statements. There will be a much better and bigger lesson on if-else statements in the future, but for now, this is a quick and easy introduction to data types and variables in Java with a minor introduction to if-else statements. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.